So this is a travel story that I can't imagine you think is real at all. In fact, when I first read it, I thought it was fake until my curiosity made me take a deep dive, a rabbit hole, if you will. And it's relevant to me and possibly to you because it's a travel story. In fact, it's one of the earliest modern travel stories in American history, and it has to do with how children were transported. So it's the early 1900s and the early days of the parcel post. With that, it's also the early days of modern ground transportation altogether. Let's see. The first successful American car was designed in 1893. The Wright brothers only took their first flight in 1903, and of course, commercial flights were just not a thing. And the good old railroad trains were still considered luxury and a bit expensive. That's of course if you had seats. And one of the services that was offered by the mail service was delivering children to relatives, kind of. So it started with the addition of the parcel service to the post office, and the weight limit for mail changed from 4 pounds to 11. And that meant packages could now be shipped at a fraction of a price of private shipping and courier services. And regulations on what you could ship were vague. So, of course, people tested the limits. Now, imagine this. There were reports of people shipping bricks, eggs, even snakes. And one of the most notable stories comes from Ohio. A couple called Jesse and Matilda Baegu were planning a visit with their 8-month-old son James to grandmother's house. That's sweet enough. That's typical enough. And so they sent their 8-month-old baby to his grandmother via the U.S. Postal Service, the mailman. It cost just 15 cents for the stamp, and they also paid $50 security deposit. Grandma lived just about a mile away, so no big deal, I suppose. The baby got safely delivered. Now remember, towns are smaller and folks knew one another. Little James wasn't boxed, by the way. He just was handed over and probably riding shotgun. Now, baby James was sent just about a mile away, but that wasn't the only or the furthest distance, like more than 700 miles for one child. There are 7 recorded instances of children being sent in the mail from 1913 to 1915. So mailing children wasn't very common, but it was cheaper than sending them on a train. One more story, another famous account is May Pierstorff. She was sent about 73 miles to her grandparents in Idaho, and her parents put a stamp on her jacket and sent her off. She had a relative who worked at the post office who helped transport her, but she was processed the same way as the other mail. Her story made it into a children's book called Mailing May. Well, quickly after that, regulations were established to prevent the shipping and mailing of humans, children in particular, through the U.S. mail. I love these small little quirky historical stories, and I also love travel stories. And if you like these kind of stories, let me know. Maybe I'll do more of them.